And I remember we had our first few months of lessons, and you looked at me and you were like, you can actually do this if you want to. We're never, because I'm like, I know it's not innate in me because it didn't used to happen when I was little. When you waited so long for something and worked so hard for something, and then you're finally here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Crystal McDaniel, and this is The Naked Singer. Today, we have a podcast guest for you, and our podcast guest is Miss City of New York, Catherine Lilly. She's the reigning Miss City of New York right now, and she just finished going to and competing at the Miss New York pageant. So we're going to be talking about that experience that she has. Also, Catherine has a unique way of being able to communicate. Catherine has a really high level of performance. She's a high energy person when she's up there. She knows how to capture the audience's attention. She knows how to make herself likable, honestly, in 3 minutes or less, because sometimes when you're doing pageant interviews, you have a 3-minute interview and you're lucky to get 5 questions. And in that particular time period, you have to actually be succinct, tell them what's on your mind, and be likable all at the same time. So there's a lot of things that you're going to learn from Catherine today. So we're just going to hop right on into it because this is going to be a really great podcast. So hi, Catherine. How is it in New York City?
It is a hot summer day, that's for sure, but I'm sure it's not as warm and humid as it is in North Carolina, so I'm grateful for that. A beautiful day.
It's actually sort of cool today here, so
really?
it's like 85 degrees or something. It's been cool for a couple of days.
Well, then it's about the same here. So we're sharing the same weather. But it's New York, so it's immediately better.
Yeah. Catherine, you're going into your junior year, your third year of being in the Tisch school, Tisch Fine Art School there in New York at NYU. So how is that?
It's exhilarating and terrifying at the same time to think that it's already been 2 years, because they have absolutely flown by. It feels like I just got here, but at the same time, I can look back now. I've been using some of my time this summer to sit down and really think about the things I've been able to add to my toolbox over the past 2 years, even with the first year being COVID year and me having to take all of my classes from a dorm room. I learned very unique skills from that experience as well. So just being able to take it all in, those 2 first years of primary training, and get my ducks in a row to go into my third year being the start of advanced training for me is very, very exciting.
That's wonderful. So, do you like it at NYU?
Oh, it is the best decision I ever made in my life. It's a place I never thought I would be able to end up. It's immediately when I set foot on campus during my tour in 2018, I was like, oh my gosh, it feels like home. I'm going to work as hard as I can to get there. And if I do, amazing. If I don't, it's not where I'm supposed to be. But I'm really, really grateful that it was where I was meant to be, because I have made the greatest relationships with my wonderful teachers that are out doing the work on Broadway right now, and then my peers that I'm getting to work alongside that I know are going to be with me on that journey through the industry and making the industry a better place for years to come. So I couldn't ask for a better school. They really genuinely care about us as people, not just as little, musical theater prodigies. They want us to grow as humans, and I really feel like I've grown immensely in the past 2 years. So
that is absolutely wonderful. I couldn't hope for a better thing for any of my students than that. So that's really wonderful. So here's my first question. How did you get started in your performance career in the first place? Tell us about that.
Well, it was an interesting journey. I grew up in pageants, but I saw my first Broadway show when I was 4, and I said then that I wanted to be a performer, specifically a dancer on Broadway, because that's all I was trained in at the moment. I didn't know I could sing, and then that dream kind of died as I grew up a little bit, or I was pushed to the side just because I was told that I needed to do other things. And then luckily, I found McDaniel Music Studios at a very, very important time in my life when I was transitioning into middle school and my parents were going through a divorce. And I came in for the purpose of pageants and training for the Miss America organization, which is crazy that I'm a part of that now too. But and I remember we had our first few months of lessons, and you looked at me and you were like, you can actually do this if you want to. And then I told you about my dream that I had had for probably 6 years at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and here we are. You said, all right, let's get to work, let's do it. And I listened. I worked as hard as I could. I learned a lot of things along the way, and
Yes, you did.
I've stuck by that principle too of like, just work hard, do good, do the best you can, make sure you're happy with yourself, and then you're going to end up where you're supposed to be because of that. And you constantly told me that as well, that if I just did the work, if I just did the best that I could, I was never going to be perfect. We're never going to be perfect. But if I just kept consistently working, that I would get here and or get where I was supposed to be. And sure enough,
yes,
where I was supposed to be was where I wanted to be. So that was really cool.
That's really wonderful. That's wonderful. So tell us about your pageants for a minute, because I know you were doing that before you were doing just about anything, because you've been doing those since you were an infant. So tell us how that has positively affected you.
I could go on and on. There's ups and downs of everything, but I really love to focus on the positive way that pageants have impacted my life. That's the only reason I still even participate in them today. I thought it was a phase of my life that had passed, but I missed all of those positive aspects that pageants added to my life. And I I wouldn't be here in New York City right now if I hadn't started pageants when I was little. I started when I was 5 weeks, and then my family gave me the option when I was about three-ish, I think, to pull me out, and they're like, let's see if she decides she wants to keep doing them, or let me decide on my own. And I was picking up my phone, calling my grandmother, saying, Mama, when are we gonna? You need to come practice with me. I want to do my next pageant. When are you gonna come? And that was it. I have made some of the best friends in my life, my best mentors. I wouldn't even know you. I would have never started taking voice lessons if it weren't for pageants. Like, that's why I started. And I would say 80% of the people in my life, if not more, have been brought to me through some form of pageantry or some people that I've met. There's good apples and bad apples everywhere. There's crazy everywhere. But it's all about the company you keep around you. And I was lucky to find a lot of wonderful people in pageants that helped every single experience I had impact me in a positive way, whether it was through, a new friend or sometimes I got the whole family with them, even my college roommate now, that is my best friend and has been for almost 3 years now. Her and I met at a pageant. And then we ended up getting to move in together at NYU. So I think those relationships are just what has stuck with me, as well as the ability to get up on stage and be confident in myself and know that all I have is myself to give, and I can give that and be happy with it. And that's what matters at the end of the day. As long as I have a good time, make a new friend, and see some old ones, I've been successful. So I think those are the biggest positive lessons that I've carried from pageants.
That's wonderful. Well, I want to, for a second, because this is the Naked Singer, and we get down to the bare bones on this of what is actually real and what is actually what we want it to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I tend to want everything and look for the positive in all of it and what I learned. And you're very similar to that too. But we both know reality says that the negative experiences are there as well. And I think we learn from those more than we actually learn from the positive ones. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So tell me something that happened and affected you negatively on the pageant circuit.
Um, I think it's very important to focus on how, we wouldn't have any positives without negatives as well. So they're
That's
always
right.
there and they're important to talk about. Um, I think all of the stereotypes are real in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that you have to look a certain way, and that the idea that you have to go out of your way to be what they want, and those pressures are always there. And I feel like all of
Mm-hmm.
those negative aspects, though, as challenging as they were at times to combat, like I talked about, having wonderful people around me that taught me how to deal with those, taught me how to deal with the fact of someone judging me, and know that it's their opinion. It's not fact. It's their opinion, and it's no reflection on my talent or my ability. It's just the way somebody feels on a certain day when they're looking at you up on a stage. And as long as you're having fun, nothing else matters. It doesn't. And I think that's why I was always so comfortable. Even when I did swimsuit competition, I had the best time because I got to work, hard to make myself feel healthy, to where I would go to the gym.
Uh-huh.
I would eat better, of course, but I never felt the need to, starve myself, even though I've seen that happen. And so, the uproar in the industry right now with, like, taking out swimsuit and taking away those things, they are, in a way, I think it's a beneficial thing that they're being taken away, because they need to be reframed for people that felt trapped in that space of, I have to starve myself to look good, or I have to run 5 miles a day to be worthy to get on that stage. I think it needs to be reframed to where, you need to feel healthy and feel good about yourself, because then as soon as you step foot on that stage, you don't give a rat's tail about what anybody thinks. If you know that, because I would get myself to
Yeah.
that place where it's like, I feel so good about, I might not be as skinny, I'm like you, we're very short, we're never going to be those
Yeah.
little tiny little, that's not how our bodies are built. We've got muscle, and that's our strength
No, we're
lies.
tiny little people.
And and I was always okay with that, because I knew I had worked as hard as I could to feel good. So all of that being said, every single one of those lessons I've learned have helped me get to where I am performance wise, because my life
Yes.
will be auditions. Excuse me. It will be me walking in a room on a random day
Uh-huh.
with people judging me, per se, and me having to be okay with the outcome, and know that that is no reflection on me. I'm going to take a drink real
Yeah,
fast.
that's really great advice. That's really great advice to be able to go in and have people make a decisions about you, and it doesn't have anything to do with you.
Right. It has nothing. One thing we focused
Yeah.
on heavily in my film classes this summer is that the biggest thing to people, I'm working with casting directors right now. One of my teachers is a casting director. She's like, when you go in that room, we are just looking for what adds the most value at that time. And value is so subjective. It is so subjective. It can be
Mm-hmm.
monetary, it can be physical, it can be how they feel towards you, the energy you brought when you stepped in the room. It could be anything. So if you focus so hard on making everything perfect for what each individual room wants, you're never going to be successful. But if you stay consistent in who you are, and it's hard. I remember freshman year getting to here to NYU, and they're like, you're going to discover who you want to be as an artist. And I'm like, I don't know who I want to be. But then this year, I was terrified of even just that single sentence of, like, figuring out who you want to show the world. And I'm like, well, I don't know. But then it's all started to become clear to me this year, especially, that things that are important to me is representing where I came from. And, I still have my accent, and I still have my manners and Southern charm, and that is something, it's a part of me I'm not going to let go of. And if I tried to hide that in every single room I walked into to fit their mold, that would be doing myself a great disservice, because I know one day I'm going to step into a room being exactly who I am, and they're going to go, that's what we needed. And no one else is going to be able to do it because it's exactly me. And it sounds so cliche, but it's so true. The only way the people that have made it big and gotten famous is because there's something about them that no one else can be. And it's their own truth. It's what they cared about and who they wanted to be and show the world. So that has been a really huge discovery for me lately.
That's awesome. I mean, that's really what it is, which really just covered the, question number 4, which was how do you keep your positive mindset in a competitive setting? Because bottom line is that it's authenticity. And you really just can't care about what they think. All you can do is go in and be who you are. You can't really care what they think.
Not at
And
all.
so what yeah, no, not at all. So what would you say to um someone who wants to do the same thing that you do, which, in our studio, everybody wants to do the
Yeah.
same thing. So, and it's like, okay, so if I had to say, okay, at workshop, Catherine, you're going to do a 1 hour class for everyone, and you're going to help them learn how to be themselves and who they are. What would you do? What would you say to them? I know that's a hard question. That's a really hard question, because what I see a lot is people trying to be something that they're not, hoping that, and then they stay so filled
Yep.
with anxiety because no matter what they do, they won't let that guard down. They won't
What one
let
of my
that guard down and just be vulnerable and be who they are.
right. What one of my teachers did
So what do you
here.
think?
Well, what I would start off with to break the ice, I think, would be to tell them before they even get there to bring in something that brings them joy. Whatever it is, like something related to art, of course, but it can be. We had to do this for class. I brought in sides from my favorite movie, 27 Dresses. Other people brought in like SNL skits, like just anything that would light us up. One person in my class actually looked up like monkey sounds on YouTube, and she, as soon as like that video started playing, just, I mean, illuminated. And that was such an exciting experience to see what specifically brought everyone in that room joy, because then it
Mm-hmm.
immediately informed who they were as a person, even from an outside point of view. Even if the person, bringing it in couldn't see that, it gave us a taste of
Mm-hmm.
who they are and what they wanted to bring to the table. So I feel like that would be very useful. And then to share in that group, what the other people saw in that, and share that, because then I think that helps hone in on. I know it's always hard for me to discover it with me, myself, and I need to hear
Uh-huh.
people say what they see, and then I'm like, oh wow, that really is what I care about and what I want to bring to
Yeah.
the table. Um, and then just dig into that. And I'm sure I could come up with more things, but it all starts at joy. It really does. It all starts at what makes you happy, because why else would we do it? Why else would we put ourselves through an industry like this if it didn't bring us joy?
That's the
Yeah.
truth.
Like, why in
That
the
is
world?
the absolute truth. Because
And
it
then,
to me, it's like some sort of self
yeah.
torture sometimes, right?
And then maybe we can save a life. And if somebody's like, oh, I find joy in none of this, I'll be like, do something else. Don't do it. Then if you can't find immense joy, because it takes that consciousness of knowing that you're bringing yourself joy and bringing others
Mm-hmm.
joy to be able to make it through. I mean, this summer in film school, I've had 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. days, and they're exhausting, but I'm having the greatest time. Like, I have literally not been able to, you know me, how like meticulous I am about things, and I like to have all my texts responded to, all of my emails checked. My phone is a mess right now. There are text messages not open from about a week ago. There's emails backed up for months because I've just been trying to stay present in it because I'm getting to learn so much in such a short amount of time. But it's taking everything. It's taking all of my focus and all of my drive to stay in it, especially after a long school year already. But it's that choice that you have to make of like, if I want to do this, it's going to take all of me. And that's I remember hearing people say that, and it would scare me. Like when I was in like high school and stuff, hear people say that, oh, you have to devote yourself, you have to give everything. And I'd be like, well, there's so many other things I care about. Like, I don't want to have to give up everything. But there's a time and place. And when you decide to do like a 6-week film school intensive, it's going to be intense. They're not lying. And you're going to, you pay good money for those things too. If you're not totally invested, don't spend the money. Don't waste your time. But once you decide you care about it, you're going to want to. Now I realize I want to devote all my time. I'll be able to be home in 2 weeks and see all my family and tell them all what's going on. And if there's an unopened or unanswered text message, it's going to be okay because I'm where I'm supposed to be, learning all this stuff and staying present. And it's really exciting. Yeah. So finding,
but it's work.
It's a lot of work. It is, but if you start from that joy, then it doesn't feel like work.
Mm-hmm.
It just
exactly
feels like things that you are doing to get you where you want to be, and it should be joyful.
That's right. Okay, so how do you deal with anxiety and fear when it comes to being on the stage?
I have always had, well, I wouldn't say always. When I was younger, I could, the innocence of being a child and just being fearless, get up on stage, do what I want. But that definitely carried over into my life. But as we get older, especially young adults in these days, I feel like everybody has their own sort of form of anxiety and way they handle with and deal with pressure. And I'll tell you, I was at Miss New York. What was that? 3 weeks ago? I was terrified. It was my first Miss Pageant. I was the youngest in the entire group of 20-something people. And, I knew I had been preparing for this start of a journey my entire life. I really had. But I got there and I was like, I can't do this. I'm not prepared for this. And I quickly had to reframe my mind to get that anxiety to drive away. Of course, I lean on the people that I care about. It's important to keep a very tight support system because sometimes you can't do it alone. But that reframing of, I'm here because I love to be here. I love to be on stage. I'm going to get to go in this 10-minute interview and tell these people all about myself and the things that I care about. And it's going to be fun. I knew it was going to be fun. Like, we were in dance rehearsals, and I'm like, why even bother with being scared? Because, and I guess that also takes a lot of time and practice. But it all starts with, like, that initial, like, this is fun. I still, when I'm backstage, I always go, I'm excited. When I feel nervous, because I know.
Yes.
Like,
that's right.
It'll change.
It'll turn your brain. Mm-hmm.
It's a mind game. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
We're never, because I'm like, I know it's not innate in me because it didn't used to happen when I was little. I know it's that consciousness now of being older and knowing that I'm on a stage to be judged, or knowing that I'm in an audition room to be picked for a job. And that consciousness, it's like, it's hard to separate that from the experience itself. And if you can't separate it, it controls it to where the whole time, instead of having fun and just enjoying what you do, you're focused on whether you're good enough or whether you're going to mess up. And So what if you mess up? You're gonna mess up. I mess up so many darn times. It's not even funny. Like I know you have to. Like it happens, and then there will be those
Yes.
moments. Though.
I think you just
Oh,
I think you just hit on something really important a second ago, though, Catherine, because
mm-hmm.
you literally said, I know that it's in me because those things weren't there when I was little.
Yeah.
So I think that is a really, I mean, I'm just, that I'm in awe of, because that is a statement that not many people hook into. Does that make sense? To
Right.
know that when you were a child and you were playing in your bedroom or you're playing in your living room and you've got your, of course, when I was little, we didn't have those little karaoke machines and,
Yeah.
and sing along things and all of that. You know, I had to make up all that myself. But the bottom line is, when you're little and you're out there, you know, and you're doing these things, you're just like playing and having a good time. And there's no fear in doing that. And if somebody's, you know, if your mom and dad have a party and they say, hop up there and sing, you just like go to
Do
town,
it.
hop up and sing. You think, oh, I got a captive audience, right?
And I
And,
remember I thought I
and I
was
think,
awesome too. I was like, yes, I'm so good at this. I am
yeah,
the best at this. Yeah.
right. So making that bridge from that child to being backstage now at this age, can you give us a little insight on that? Because I think you just really nailed it just then with saying that.
It's all in the. I love how when my teachers, when we're coming to class, like they won't be like, all right, let's get to work. They're like, let's play. Because it is. It's like let's play, let's have fun. And backstage at Miss New York, I was in my Vegas showgirl outfit that I was so excited about, and I saw my family out in the audience. They had came all the way to New York to see me, and I was looking at the judges. There was two of the judges I could see from backstage, and like the intro music started, and I just started
Mm-hmm.
dancing, and I looked down, and they were looking at me, and they were dancing with me, and we were all like having a little. It was like a little dance party backstage before I went out, and it felt like I was like, oh my gosh, like they're sharing in this joy with me. That's so cool. So I think it's a really cool thing at school too, to have my classmates, because we all kind of get to share in that joy together, and I think that's what's so exciting. So find people that are also willing to like play with you, and if it's a friend that like auditions, go to auditions with them, and be there with that person. That way they can share in that lightheartedness, and you can joke, and you don't have to sit there intimidated, surrounded by all these other people that are trying to get to
Yes.
you and trying to. And luckily at Miss New York, like this year, that is the greatest group of girls I've ever been a part of. I think not a single bad apple in the bunch. Everyone was there to
Wow.
support each other and have a good. It was beautiful. Like it made the week better than I ever imagined, truly, because I was so nervous leading up, and I didn't feel like I had prepared. And then as soon as I got there, I remember I think I texted Shreya, my best friend, and I was like, yeah, I just realized the reason that I was supposed to be here. It was to meet these people because they are awesome, and to be surrounded by that the whole week. It felt like play. It didn't feel like we were competing for anything. It just felt like we were there to have a good time and enjoy something together. And then, there was an outcome in the end, but so what? You can't carry, you know, that outcome. You carry it away, but the experience of the week itself and the competition is just what I value the most, truly, because it that's what grows you, and that's what I do it for, at least, is that
Yeah.
experience. It grows me as a person, and it helps me with my skills. It helps me to be able to learn how to handle myself in those moments of high anxiety, and teaches me that I can do it. That way, things that would maybe feel like nerve-wracking, like even an interview like this, people ask me all the time, they're like, how can you just jump into things like that and just do it? And I'm like, well, I've had to get up on stage and like sing in front of hundreds of people. I've had to audition for teachers at New York University. Like I do crazy things all the time. So now those crazy things, they don't seem crazy. They just seem fun. And so if
Yep, this is what we do.
If you find your way and the people that will encourage you to feel that fun and feel that joy and excitement in it and constantly remind you, I feel like that has been the most helpful thing for me to be able to maintain that mindset and then even stay steadfast in it when I was alone. Like that was the first time I wasn't allowed to be with my family at a pageant and stay with them, and normally they would be there reminding me, but this time it was really all up to me. And I realized,
Wow.
wow, I'm able to do that for myself now. That's really cool. I don't have to even depend on other people. So if you can use others are always encouraging. It keeps you, it holds you accountable to where that way you don't even need somebody to hold
Yes.
you accountable at some point. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so what pointers do you have for someone in an audition setting to help them become likable in 3 minutes or less?
I don't want to sound cliche because I've been talking a lot about being yourself, and it really is just so important to find what that is that makes you, one thing that's helpful for me is I ask my friends, I'm like, what is it about me that makes you want to spend time with me? And you'll be shocked at how fast they can come up with an answer, because they immediately were like, oh, Catherine, who wouldn't want to be around you? You're so warm and caring, and you're just authentic. You're not afraid to show who you are. And I was like, the times I've been the most successful in my life have been when I was warm, open, and just totally willing to give all of myself over and share that with other people. And to recognize that connection between your everyday life and then just taking what the people surrounding you love about you into that room, they're either going to see it or they're not. But if they see it, though, then they're going to feel like your friends rather than like, oh, we're hiring you. They're going to want to know you not just as an artist but as a person. And that's really, no one wants to work with anyone that's seems like they would not be fun to be around. People still get away with it, don't get me wrong. There's some that are just that talented, but I feel like it makes it more enjoyable for both parties if they immediately get to know what kind of person you are. I walked in my NYU audition and I chose a monologue that had a southern accent. It was a play written, set in
Yes.
Alabama, and from Blood at the Root. And the first thing they
Yes.
asked me after I did it, they said, Catherine, why'd you choose that monologue? And I was like, well, it of course has a very powerful message about things that I care about. But at the end of the day, I really chose it to where I could bring my full self into this room for you. I was like, this is how I sound. This is how I'm going to sound every day when I'm in your classrooms, and I'm not going to change that for anybody. This is who I am, and I want you to know that. I don't want you if you don't want the real me. And they were just like, huh, okay. And they were like, no, we love it. That was a very smart choice, and that's if you find, and it brought me joy to be able to take my real voice into that room and share that. And then the biggest reward was then getting that acceptance letter and knowing they wanted me for me, and knowing that I was going to be able to
That's
come
right.
here and I wasn't going to have to lose parts of myself. I didn't put on any sort of facade. I was exactly Catherine Lilly, and it ended up being exactly what they wanted. So when you have 3 minutes like that, I've went in pageant interviews that are literally 2 minutes, and sometimes you get asked really, really weird, off-the-wall questions that you're like, how is this a good use of my time? Like, how is this going to show? And I try to, a lot of times an opinion is formed about you within the first 5 seconds of you being in the room, whether it's an audition, whether it's on stage, whatever it is. That opinion is almost immediate because we're all humans and we pick up those energies fast. And, I always try to walk in as if I've already been there for 5 minutes instead of, oh, hi, so nice to meet you. How are you? I just remember this past time at Miss New York, I walked in, I was like, wow. And they were like, oh, how are you, Catherine? I was like, when you've waited so long for something and worked so hard for something, and then you're finally here. And I was like, here I am. I'm here. And that immediately, gave them insight into where I was at in that moment, because I was so excited and I had worked so hard, and I knew, I was like, I'm gonna be all right. I get to go share all of this that I've been preparing for. And I immediately wanted them to know that as soon as I walked in. So instead of going in saying the things that I was supposed to, I said what I wanted to and how I truly felt in that moment. So as long as you can do that, then that's when you'll find your place, because then the people that love you will snatch you up so fast. And then if they don't, then they were obviously just looking for something else. So
don't you think that it takes a little bit of courage to be able to look at friends or family and say, why do you like to be around me?
oh, it definitely does. That's terrifying, because then it's like, oh, what are they gonna say? How am I? What if I'm But it was a conversation
Well,
that came up with four of my friends, and I were all together one night. They're in the new studio on Broadway with me, and we were just like reflecting on our sophomore projects, and that's how it came up. And I was like, what is it? Because we were talking about like who it was like fun to work with, and who we were like, I would never do that in this kind of setting. It wasn't like bad talk. It was just like, let's reflect on this. And then I was like curious. I was like, what is it that like, and we all kind of shared with each other what it was that we loved about one another. And that was really special. And so it came up kind of organically for me. It was not really a out of the blue thing. But I think it is a very useful thing. And even if you just kind of gauge, you don't have to ask it that blatantly. Just be like, you know, a quality. If you all like wrote a quality you liked about each other, just one. Even make it a little activity. Send out, like, even if you feel uncomfortable doing it in person, just send out a group text to like a few of your friends and be like, hey, let's share some positive words today about one another. And that can easily segue into a conversation about what makes everybody who they are. So, there's different ways to do it. But if you have the courage,
I think one of the best ways.
go
Yeah,
ahead.
I think you're really right on it, because I think one of the best ways that we can actually move forward and do what we really want to do is when we really know who we are and
Yeah.
embrace that part of ourselves. We just
That's
have to.
really hard. Yeah. I remember that was
Yes.
really the
Most
biggest thing that scared me, was getting lost in like
and
a
most
sea.
people your age don't know who they are.
No. And I mean, I don't think I fully know who I am yet. I think I've got a lot of room to grow still, but I think I'm finally starting to realize what's important to me and what characteristics I like about myself, and that I like that how I treat people and the way I go about my days, and what I think I still need to work on, and be honest with myself about that. About, maybe I've always had this little like tendency. It was really big when I moved to college, because I had this tendency of like a bit of selfishness. Like when these things are mine. Like if you touch my stuff, it like would bother me, and that is something I decided when I came to college. I was like, I'm gonna work on this. I don't like that I feel this way sometimes. I don't know why I do, so let me reframe it, let me work on it. And I lived with two of the
Mm-hmm.
best roommates in the world, and I was like, y'all can have anything off my back, you know what I mean? Like I shall share this with you because I love you and care about you. It's just material things. And I have gotten leaps and bounds better about those things now, and just understanding that, okay, that part of me was shaped by many different events that happened in my life that made me feel the need to protect my material things. And I realized, no, I need to share these, because that's what I have to give, and I will be provided for, I will be taken care of, and I know that. So I should feel no need to hold on to my materials as a security blanket. So, like, being able to be honest with yourself about the good parts. We all have good parts and we all have bad parts. And if you take something and decide to work on it, it'll get better, just like anything else would. So,
Catherine, this has been an amazing podcast. Absolutely amazing. And I just fully believe that people that listen are going to get a whole lot out of this, because you have grown so much in the entire time that I've known you. But you apply every single experience and take it into your like DNA. And I just think that is completely amazing.
yeah, I mean, I try really hard. I always have to remind myself that we only have one life to live, and each day we experience something. Some days are good, some days are bad, but every single one of those experiences we have to hold on to and use that to fuel tomorrow, because that's all we've got. That's literally all we have to hold on to to make this the best life that it can be. So take in everything as wholly as you can, and keep it close to your heart, and it will serve you well. So
That's right. Okay, so as we close this up, I have the game that I always play with my podcast guests. We are going to play Inside the Actor's Studio.
Oh,
So yeah, so I've got questions for you. So let's hear the answers to these. Okay.
all right.
What
I'm
is
ready.
your favorite word?
My favorite word, charming. I just love that word. It just always reminds me of like
Charming. That's
fairy
fun.
tale, and I just love people that are charming and have some sort of charm about them.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
Oh no, did you say least favorite word?
Yes. What is your least favorite word?
Hate, I guess. I I just hate any form of hate, even the word. I don't like when people say that they hate things, because I think it's a stretch, and you should. There are certain things to hate and like to be that are righteously hated, but I try to keep that out of my heart as often as I can.
Okay. What turns you on?
Any form of sugar. This is in daily life. Anything that, if I see an ice cream truck, I just can't get it off my mind for like the next hour. If that is a guilty pleasure for me, that I have just accepted the fact that I love ice cream, I love sugar. It makes me happy as long as I take care of my body and exercise my body. I can have the sugar and the things that bring me happiness. It's true.
Okay. What turns you off?
Mm. When people are mean to other people for no reason, or like will treat them unkindly for no reason. I see it a lot around the city. When it really affects me, it's like seeing people treat like homeless people on the street differently than they would anyone else. We're all here in life. We're all going through it. We all have separate experiences, and you never know what somebody's facing when you talk to them or you call them. And it's so easy for people to hide in this day and age too, because we have phones, we have the internet, we can pretend we're doing fine and then hide in a hole. So just it's important to me to be as kind as I can be to people always, and hope that either fuels their fire or aids in helping them feel better. I hate when I see people act out of like hatred and be unkind for no reason.
Very true. Very true. What sound or noise do you love?
Ooh. Oh wow. This is I really love, it's weird because it's kind of like backhanded, but I love hearing the sirens in New York. That's really strange because then I always know that like somebody's in trouble. So I'll say a little prayer for them, but it always reminds me that I'm here. And I'm like, wow, New York. And then I'm like, oh no, it's an ambulance. Somebody's hurt. But I'm like, wow, New York City.
You know what? I was thinking the exact same thing. I thought, the sound that I love the most are the horns, the car
Yeah.
horns, and the background sirens and things in New York City.
Because like it always
Yeah,
brings me to consciousness of like that I'm here.
yes, yes. Okay, so what noise do you hate? What sound or noise do you hate?
Nails on a chalkboard. Any type of like metal on metal. Oh, it makes my teeth clench just thinking about it. I don't know why. I'm just always hating
yeah.
Ugh.
Yep. Okay. What profession other than the one that you have right now would you like to attempt?
There's two. I would love at some point to be a flight attendant. I don't know. I love to fly. I've always had such a desire because I feel like it would be so cool to just fly to all these different places. See, I love airports too. I think that would be a fun thing to do for a couple of years in my life at some point. And then I also have had this dream for a long time to open a bakery called Lilly May's, and I'm almost finished with my business minor now too, and then maybe I'll go back to school for business one day, but I really want to be able to open my bakery, hopefully after I am an established actress and people will want to come buy my bakery. We'll see, but
That's right.
that is something I definitely, the most important thing my sister always told me was when I was deciding to go for music, she was like, Catherine, you can always start over. You can always turn around and decide to do something else. And I was like, oh, this is true. So
That's right.
I'll do this for as long as I want, and then I can pick up the other things as well.
That's right. That's right. That's right. What profession would you not like to do?
Ooh. I would hate anything where I just had to sit at a desk all day by myself and like secluded in an office. So accountant, I would hate that. I actually don't think, as much as I would love to save lives, I don't think I would ever want to be a doctor. I don't think I could handle that pressure. I know I get on a stage and do that. My roommate is pre-med, and I'm just like, all power to you. That's amazing that you want to dedicate your life to saving others. I would like to make people smile and laugh while they're alive, and then you can save them. I'll leave that up to you. I think I had all the potential to do it. I just don't think my heart would have been in it enough.
And that makes total sense. Okay, here's the last question. Since heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you enter the pearly gates?
Being happy and getting to enjoy all of these wonderful things that God has placed in my life, and taking the time to do that and to work hard and fulfill whatever purpose is set forth for me. That, I think, would be a very fulfilling thing to hear.
We're going to tie this up. Thank you so much, Catherine, for taking time from your busy schedule to do the podcast today. I know everybody is going to really enjoy and learn stuff, because I learned some stuff that I didn't know today about your mindset. And I think that is extremely admirable. And also I think it's extremely healthy the way you process it. So I appreciate all the information that you gave us today. I want to remind everyone that the Naked Singer podcast drops every Monday. So this one will come out this Monday. Remember that you can find it on Apple Podcast and Spotify and all your favorite social networks. Make sure that you comment, like, share, and tag a friend, because we always want to be able to stretch out more and more and help as many people as we possibly can, because I'm a singer and this is a podcast by a singer for singers. So we want to look at it that way. And I'm also incapable of BS. So if you look in my bio, that's absolutely true. So you're going to get the real deal while you're here, because I sort of, yeah, Catherine's like, it's true. So, so we try to get very honest while we're on here. And if you comment, I just want to say that please comment something positive. And if you don't have anything positive to say, just keep it to yourself and that'll be fine too. All right. So remember that I love you. I thank you for listening. I'm Crystal McDaniel, and this is The Naked Singer.